And we are not back in the Misty Vale. We've left that land. We've left it for good. Well, maybe we'll return at some point. But today we are discussing the game itself. We're talking about Dragonbane, what we thought about it. We're talking about the Secret of the Dragon Emperor adventure. Maybe we'll talk a little bit about alchemy and what we thought of alchemy. And will we use it again in the future? And then maybe we'll talk about what games we'll play coming up next. And if you do want to read my review of Dragonbane, head over to diceencounters.wordpress.com to check out the written version. It's got the WordPress in it because I am cheap. And I did start that review by comparing Dragonbane to D&D because I think it's something that you kind of can't get out of doing when you're playing fantasy games. And we played 3 campaigns of D&D. We've played Soulbound as another fantasy game. We played a bit of Pathfinder. We played some other games. So I want to open the conversation by saying, how did Dragonbane stack up against those other systems that we played?
It's better.
Oh,
than D&D for sure. For me, that's
the system or the adventure or both.
I much prefer the system from Dragonbane overall. I know some stuff that you mentioned in your review. not just to copy your review, but like one of the things that I remember you mentioned in there was all the items having a purpose and that sort of thing. It's like there's less stuff in the game, but pretty much everything that's left in there is there with intention.
Yeah.
And that makes everything feel nice.
Yeah, it is the intentionality. It's interesting that you say that though, because I thought, or maybe if we carried on a bit longer, it would have felt more keenly the kind of flat power structure. Because I know you're a big Baldur's Gate fan. I know you enjoy those pings and those leveling ups and those power spikes. And I think towards the end, it was like you guys ran out of heroic abilities and things, really.
Well, I would have had more heroic abilities if I could roll an 18 when I wanted to across 6 attempts, I think.
Oh, yeah.
We like that system. I think we're all agreed that we like that system. I got caught a bit short by it. But overall, that leveling system's really good as well. It just didn't feel like it was about the pings in a way that I didn't mind.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's true. It didn't get in the way.
It's there's someone who got loads of heroic abilities, but like I was running out of ones to pick. Like they're like 1 or 2 per class. Then it was like just more willpower, more health points. So, and I always hark on about how that first encounter where you kind of reveal that like you don't really get much stronger than you are. And we did, obviously, more better. That's what I say. The thing like most is the leveling up system with the XP. We didn't get any more stuff. We got better at doing the stuff we always had, which is quite a nice and felt more kind of organic way of doing things, right? Rather than just leveling up. Now you've learned 400 new spells, and it's simpler. That's the main thing, right? It's simpler system, more compact, and kind of then gives you a bit more room to just kind of play around the edges rather than being so kind of bogged down trying to remember all the stuff. And I think everyone should probably play both at some point. You shouldn't just go to play D&D because it's very different. You kind of want to know what the big daddy is like. But it's certainly one of those things that would be nice to play that and then go, right, well, do you want a more streamlined version, one that kind of cuts a lot of the faff? Like I said, everything felt meaningful in this game, which was really good. So system-wise, definitely Dragonbane.
Wow,
I think the speaking of the pings, like the heroic abilities are like maybe equivalent to gaining like several levels of D&D in one go. Like if you think about if you pick something that gives you action economy and an additional something, you can now defend outside of your turn and it costs nothing. Like that's like the equivalent of moving straight up to level 5 or 6 or whatever, and you get your second attack, something like that. And obviously some of them are giving you economy and more. So it kind of is like that, and then so by the time we had, well, some of us only got 2, but like it was quite a big power spike getting those, and so I think that kind of satisfied it.
Yeah, Yeah, and it's yeah, because it's interesting when you think about that as well, because it doesn't make you're not becoming like a god in a week like in D&D either. You're just saying like the ability to defend on a different defend
Yeah.
and attack. Wow, you're suddenly
Hey.
you're like one of those powerful people in this land. That's crazy. Well, okay, well that's interesting. That was a much easier conversation. I thought there was going to be some controversy with the Dragonbane. Would you play it? So if you were going to do another sort of D20 game or a fantasy game, would you pick Dragonbane, or would you try something new, or would you want to go for something like Soulbound, where it's a bit more heroic, sort of superhero style fantasy, or would you want to go for something which is like a OSR kind of thing, which is like Shadow Dark, which is supposed to be like old D&D, where it's very dungeon crawly and it's kind of similar to Dragonbane?
I only understand about half of your acronyms, but it's tough, isn't it? Because that's the one. I mean, it definitely like the one thing I think just from this adventure it lacked was the story. Well, I mean, again, I've only played one full-on Dragonbane campaign. That was Avernus, and that was obviously pretty fucking incredible. When you think back, like the size and scope and everything, this stuff didn't necessarily land, but then in a way that's kind of nice about it. It was literally contained this one misty veil, and you like you said, you're not trying to save. It's the classic thing in like a film, like you lose the stakes when it's like you must save all the multiverses, when actually it's like you got to save these people down the pub. Like it's kind of it's less grand for sure, less engaging on a bigger level, but actually again, you get a bit more room for your character to kind of have some fun and do stuff rather than everything feeling quite so dire and world's endy. So just from the literature, I think the D&D stuff is more classic and kind of has much more kind of very rich history. Maybe if you played the next part of this and what followed up afterwards, that would start getting that space. So yeah, I'd always up for doing variations. I mean, Soulbound again, only having done one of them. I don't want to criticize the whole campaigns, but in Soulbound
We did two.
Two Soulbound.
Yeah, you
one
were
was a one shot there, right?
No, you did. You were your elf assassin, and then you were the dwarf looking for the Urgold.
Was Molasses in Soulbound?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, that was really good, actually. Really?
See, that was
Soulbound, eh?
In my internal ranking. I would have said actually, yeah, that first Soulbound adventure was maybe one of my favorite fantasy adventures we'd done.
Yeah, definitely.
And then from a GMing perspective, I think our Ravnica campaign was up there as well. But it's because I got to basically homebrew the whole thing, which I really enjoyed.
Yes.
Yeah. I think it's always a bit like you can't really rank. Well, you can. Sure, you can rank systems. What's better than this, right? But like, it's nice to have the option to rotate between something like this. I now that we've done this and we've done loads of blades, and we did our one shot for Brinkwood. Is that what it's called? Like I do now have like a little bit of a hankering for like a bit of like heroic fantasy soulboundy stuff. Even though we were kind of ready to go away from Soulbound after a while. But equally, even though Blades was more recent, something in that really like sort of grimy kind of grim darky settings that seem to pair well with it, and it's kind of like I love its systems. It's just nice to have those kind of things on rotation.
Yeah.
I kind of could quite like the idea of getting Zuriel back out and thunder fisting people.
Always get consent. Well, we don't.
That's the elephant in the room, is that obviously Blaze in the Dark was such a different experience. Like that would have been really a real trawl to go from that to D&D because of the weight of it. Whereas something like Dragonbane was such a good step because it was back to the classic stuff, but it was still light enough and it felt like a really big shift tonally, gameplay wise, but not like you felt like you could really have fun around the edges, which was good. Whereas again, I think you got to just mix up the different varieties really. Like I am more hankering to go to more of a sci-fi future setting because we've kind of not that Blades is fantasy, but it's closer to fantasy than 40k, right? Because obviously there's still demons and ghosts and stuff. So that's more my ghost app. So I think I can always rotate back around and then give it another couple months. I'm sure I'll be up for D&D again. Like as long as it's all being mixed up and spicy, that's the important thing, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean that tracks with what I've been thinking as well, and doing some shorter campaigns. All of my shortlisted campaigns or systems are kind of explosive actiony kind of games, high octane games. One of them is also one setting we've never done is present day, actually.
Too scary.
Didn't even cross my mind.
Someone used to wish they'd take Assassin's Creed for modern day and thought that'd be rubbish. It's like,
it's gonna be like
17. Like,
you're gonna rock up next week going, hey guys, like, so it's kind of like Band of Blaze, but you're in Iraq.
Yeah.
We'd be like,
your home base is a microbrewery in Camden.
I'm not sure.
Well, I've one of that. I mean, we're jumping ahead to future games, but one of the ones is called Outgunned, and it's basically like you're in an 80s action film. And
okay, sounds cool.
That's and it's as silly as that sounds. And the cool thing, and what I've heard about those kind of games set in the present day, is that you have so many like reference points actually. Yeah. So the role playing instantly takes another step up because you have so many. Like, oh, you're in a diner in Utah. You've seen a million films where it looks like this, and and you're a cool guy in aviators with a shotgun. And I've also been listening to Impossible Landscapes, which is Delta Green, which is like modern day Cthulhu as well. So like investigation stuff, which seems pretty interesting, but I think Mikey would struggle with it a little bit.
Wait, why?
Because it hinges so much on like the tense moments, like where weird stuff happens. But I think you'd be so confused more than anything.
I just need to be led in, like, there's weird shits happen in these games. It's just, and that's what I was going to say. I think probably the weaker parts of Dragonbane were some of the more dungeon crawly bits. I don't know if that's because it felt a bit at odds with the more kind of light freeform stuff. Whereas the stuff that was really fun was like going up to, we're going to Fort Malice and what the fuck's going, just kind of figuring out what's going on there, or meeting that thing, like figuring out what's going on in an area. Whereas dungeon crawl, I guess, it didn't feel quite so grindy in a D&D or even a Wang. I think about the ice caverns in Wang that were very kind of harrowing. These were all like kind of felt a lot more kind of like, yep, room, yep, little puzzle, yep, room, yep, little puzzle.
My caves.
Yeah, I tend to agree with that. Like, I really enjoy the fighting in all the games we play in general. I think it's fun. It can be a pain when you get bogged down in it, which is where D&D can be a bit of a struggle. But the dungeon crawling, which is, a bunch of fights strung together with puzzles in between, it was a bit naff.
Yeah.
It was
not all the time.
Naff.
Like, I think back to the very first, there's longer dungeons. Like even like the very first thing we did, went down the ladder and tried to stop the ghost there. It was like a very small dungeon. Like a small dungeon is fine. It was when it started crawling, it started going bit to bit to bit. It was like, okay, that felt odd. It was definitely at its best when it was like he's exploring an area there are tunnels and uncovering stuff, but it's very much a set specific place that you got to figure out.
Yeah, part of me really enjoyed the like, you must solve 3 riddles. That was great.
Yeah.
But I know you mocked us heavily for walking into the danger room with the tripwire, and I'm okay with the fact we tripped the wire. But I can't really get on board with any kind of dungeon design that is like, so we're going to make the players stop and spot hidden every 5 minutes.
Yeah.
Because that's heroic.
Because that's what you do.
So, that was I agree it was one of the weaker parts. I still like the last one, the ending dungeon of the campaign, I think was like, it was a little bit long and convoluted. But the smaller ones, where it was more like, you go here, you have a few rooms to clear, they're all kind of interesting. That was good.
Yeah.
Just that longer one was just, oh, look, another door with a lightning bolt on it. All right.
Yeah. That was my feeling as well.
#agency.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that was one of the only things I didn't like. And I think although we had like lots
you're
of
free to leave the dungeon.
Yeah, you're free to retire.
You think Azrael Koth is gonna give you a nice multi pathed dungeon?
Yeah.
No. Channel them through this. Channel them through my mirror room. Yeah. Because that's what I wrote in my review as well, that the first 2 locations you went to, which were the first 2 in the book, which is, I thought, how they arranged the book, right, in recommended order. And they were like, there was that one with the ghost, and then there was Boat Hill's Load with the mining tunnels with the big snake in. So very similar locations where you guys were really having to fight for your lives.
We're not really equipped for that at that stage.
Yeah, and then it was like, okay, let's just do some more whimsical ones like the troll spire with the little froggy and the poop harpies and you know, and the glam tower, which was my favorite, I think, location in the story because
I thought so.
If I had to do a one shot, that would be the one that I would do. Is the Tower of Thighs.
Tower of Thighs. Yeah, I think there's the other thing is I wonder what Mikey thinks about it, about just like, because obviously like you play through, we all have a good whinge about the things that are gotcha in us at the time, and mine was like being a knight was really cool, and being the armor was really cool. We kind of felt invincible a lot of the time, but then it's so stark the difference between being a knight fighting humans and being a knight fighting monsters that it felt weird, because the monsters are designed to bypass some of your natural defenses and things. That's fine. That's in the design. That's supposed to be a bit dangerous, but like it became such a stark difference that like I'm still a knight, but this monster, everything it does, I can't do anything about. Can't dodge it because I'm a knight. Plate armor. Ignores armor. Does this. Strangles you. Drowns you. And that's kind of like fine for their design, but it was like, I think that's why I found it so jarring, that I was like suddenly useless pretty much against monsters. That was a bit weird. Until you get...
You did your job.
A heroic ability. Yeah, well, yeah, meat shield.
Yeah.
Until I didn't actually take it in the end, which was the heroic ability that lets you block monster attacks.
Yeah.
That's cool. That's good. But obviously you need to get there first.
Yeah.
So I think like, that you could take that earlier, I suppose. You could negate things like that a bit, but I found that a little bit odd. But overall, playing a knight was very fun, and like the high armor rating and weapon damage from enemies being broadly fairly flat made it actually feel more impactful than having armor in probably any other RPG I've played. Yeah,
I also kind of like that thematically, that the armor designed to go to war in is effective against other people. Because whenever you see like a picture of a knight versus a dragon, you're like, well, what's that gonna do? What are they really gonna do? Like your plate armor's not designed to withstand it.
I'm currently this is relevant. Trust me, bro. Currently playing RuneScape Dragon Wilds, the new survival crafting game, which is actually really fun. It's like every other survival crafting game, and that's good. But there's you have to fight a dragon at some point, and there's a relic weapon that you probably should make before, like the Dragonbane shield or something. It probably isn't called the Dragonbane shield, actually. I should check that. But it on its description is like is able to block some of the dragon's fire breath. I'm like, I don't know if it's even going to do that. Really, it's a torrent of flame. But it kind of feels relevant that you're right. Like that equipment probably wouldn't do you a whole lot of good. This wasn't designed. This wasn't tested rigorously against flying boulders.
I suppose you could have it'd be cool if they had like a monster hunting class. I don't know if that's maybe the range. You could probably make something like that, but it'd be cool if there was someone who's more specialized to take on those weaknesses and stuff.
Outrageous.
And actually, I should take this opportunity to say to anyone watching who has watched our finale and thinks it's really bad design, Azure-Koth is a shit final boss. Alex did actually do those rules wrong for his purge spell. You can't take it to level 5.
Yeah.
And Azure-Koth is not undead or a demon. Very clearly states that he has never died. He's been kept alive. So he cannot be undead.
He's very, very old.
Yes.
Yes, I wonder how else it would have... I mean, it's one of those things, isn't it? Like, it was still cool. And you feel like I don't know. We had kind of like our big knockdown drag out fight with Leonara, which almost killed
Yeah,
us.
we were just talking about that. Yes.
Having a big, flashy finish. I mean, do selfishly, yes. If that hadn't happened, Hoisin might have been done anything in the final battle, which would have felt nice. But you know, as I think I was going to say about the kind of different classes, like I know, but I don't think cut out as Milo was talking about the night of it all. I was really happy that I kind of decided from the start I wanted this big flippy agile person stabbing people with a spear, and that's exactly how it all went. It always felt great.
Yeah.
Like despite natural inclination of rolling very low on the damage, it was just what he did, and it was fun. Like so, yeah, then with the Leonara fighting the other Quasimund, the other duck, like again having that kind of war attrition of will point stuff, which I would have had more will points for if I'd had my initial character.
Speaking of, Ollie was asking me were there any rules that were difficult to learn, and my answer was firmly no. But they are apparently difficult to read.
Yes. Well, yeah, read them, I suppose. Well, I was thinking earlier because I messaged her about the Demons and Dragons. I panicked. I thought, wait a minute, which was the good one and bad one, Demons and Dragons? I knew it. I realized that it's probably the first campaign I haven't had some weird like hang up on a rule I've just never got to. Like in Wang, it's always again. I think even Blades. I think there was still a couple of things I could never get my head around. There was definitely nothing like that.
How did you find playing a game where there was no obnoxiously complicated character for you to immediately be drawn to and play? Because there just isn't one.
You mean other systems have like a more
like a runesmith or your dude
yes.
or like some technomancer or like you will play the most complicated class in every system we've ever played. But there aren't any in this. So how was it playing a simple little quacker with a pointy stick?
Quacker. I think definitely if he'd not been a duck,
he dodges and he stabs.
Exactly. I think it would be nice. We said earlier about the lack of different abilities. I think, considering I only did one thing, by the end I was like, I wish I could do more than just stab with a spear. But from the dodging and the stabbing, it still felt, considering how much I've been doing it, still felt fun. So I completely agree. Yeah, I think we mentioned earlier, it didn't actually show when you step back and think of you didn't have a choice in what you did. It felt better. I felt in some way we have loads of choices, but actually you just do the one thing every time anyway, and you feel a bit more kind of annoyed that you're neglecting other things. But actually, just having your thing you do and doing it well and focusing on it actually work better. Whereas you get all these different things. You're like, I'm gonna try my flip flop attack, and it's like, well, I did like 0 damage. Well, I should have done that. Whereas you kind of know what works, and you kind of combine it with other things. I think it's again that streamline factor. I think it really helps.
This is something I call the Yormund revelation, where. For all of our time playing D&D, I resisted playing a barbarian because they have such a simple skill set and they do one thing, they go that way, and they bonk that thing. And it always sounded boring. And as soon as I did it, I was like, this is liberating. This is great. I just go there and do that, and I put all of my thought and energy into everything else that's going on. And Dragonbane's a bit like that.
Yes. I feel like when we chose our classes, I don't think it was this case, but it felt like it was kind of you picked a class, but you kind of make it what you want. Like similar thing, you kind of like you could be a fighter, but you could give them bows and arrows, and you could kind of be a long range fighter. It felt like I said, not
because what is it? There's like 3 different starting like gear loadouts essentially.
And
then like a starting heroic ability, and that's it.
That shifted it quite a lot. So while you could do different things, they weren't that different.
Yeah.
Which is nice, and I think. I was going to say, I think what again, just back to a previous point about you saying about you kind of gradually became less useful. I kind of felt, obviously this isn't the way the game is designed, because it doesn't know someone's going to be a nimbly bimbly duck and someone's going to be a big hunkering tank, but not the role swap, but definitely at the start it was like just oh god, hide behind Milo and stab things, hope you're alive. But by the end, it felt a lot more useful. And narratively it worked quite well. Like by the end you kept sinking down watery graves, and I kept trying to save you, and it was kind of that's narrative work quite. Well, that's not a plan. That's not in the rule book. That's how it happens. It just so happened that it kind of turned out well, and especially after
whenever the 2-man phalanx failed.
Yes, and it was just nice that way. So I definitely felt like my character kind of got more able, which was good, and I just wish I'd be able to attack a single demon at any point.
more able than Saffron, who was
Yeah,
disabled
exactly.
almost.
Well, just old. Just old. Very just.
I mean, it's an interesting point about the rule system because when I made my jest about you running a future Dragonbane one shot, Mikey, about Hoisin's Avengers,
Yeah.
you actually were up for it. Which I
Yeah.
know that I know a rule system is good when you'll be tempted
Well, I think
to
that's
run it.
the general. I joined the Dragonbane Reddit. I'm getting into Reddit. I don't know if you heard of Reddit. It's quite good, that Reddit. As I stacked up all social
I have
media
read it.
platforms. It's Reddit is good for that. So, and yeah, a lot of people were saying like it's an easy rule set to pilot. So that's also encouraging. So yeah, potentially, like it definitely seemed like it would be certainly easier than a Blaze or a D&D. You feel more confident running that stuff and having it a bit more kind of spelled out. No, you can't go too wrong because it has that sort of Dragonbane has that kind of laziness to it, doesn't it? We had the whole, getting XP for playing to your weaknesses, and it felt they were more open, stuff like that. So it was a really nice pass on from that. Not quite as in depth, obviously, as Blaze. Blaze is kind of the king of that. But it was something nice to have that in a system. It just felt more personal. Whereas I think in D&D, you felt you're kind of playing as, even though you pick your own character, you're still kind of playing as like a prescribed character. You are the barbarian, you are the wizard. It just felt there was more room to be your version of whatever. Didn't have to be a fighter. Like it could have been some kind of rogue almost. My Hoisin could have been a rogue almost, like, or something. So it felt more liberating, more free.
I mean, that's very similar to like Warhammer Fantasy kind of systems where you do start off as peasants and farmhands and all the rest of it
cool.
on like level -1. And then you might get to be a cool knight, but it will take you the whole campaign, which has always interested me. But it's very ruled, like the rule is very crunchy.
Wrath and Glory wasn't really dissimilar from that, really. Starting at tier 1, I mean, you could there's a class at tier 1 just called Scum. So
scum.
if that's not starting out at the bottom and ended up as an Inquisitor at the end of it, then I don't know what is.
Yeah, Wang had a really nice. Well, yeah, it wasn't quite -1, but I definitely remember at the start we all.
You were just some priest in a robe with a hand flamer.
Yeah. We were always under threat in that game. I felt every encounter could easily have been our last. And it's like, so when a Space Marine appeared, it was like, we're probably fucked. Like,
until you've acquired power armor and a storm shield, and then
and
had two separate GMs basically spending 6 months trying and failing to kill you.
Yeah.
Failing to and killing Daryl instead 3 times.
Ollie, he needs to be humbled. yes.
Hashtag humbled.
I love that tier of that. Like, I think when I think of video games, always a sweet idea. But whenever you play a video game, you always start powered. Like, what start playing as like just a regular NPC, and you slowly do. But you have to be kind of slow. I think it's a really appealing idea. Like, what could you end up as? And in a way, that's kind of this, and that you're not going to end up as a god, but you end up obviously better than you start. That's all you need to do is progress, right? You don't have to progress to being Lord Savior of the entire universe. You just need to progress to be within the story.
Yeah.
An impactful figure.
It's all relative, right? If you spend 10 battles being like, why can't I defend and attack in the same round? Why can't I? And then you can, and you feel like I'm a god. You don't need to be able to open a door to another dimension to feel cool. But I think that's always because I wrote a blog as well about learning to like trad games by playing this. And when I played Blades, around Blades, I thought I'm a Blades guy, I'm a story games guy in my heart, and it's kind of true. So I was a bit snooty about playing Dragonbane. The reason I wanted to run Dragonbane was because I wanted to almost GM on easy mode. And I knew all I had to do was just feed the adventure, like bit by bit by bit, build the railroad in front of you guys, and then I can take a break from having to think so much. And the pressure won't be off to improv on all this sort of stuff. And it was a bit about that. But there is that gamey element of having the different weapons and the cool, having the fights and stuff, and that is all fun as well.
I think it was probably, I don't know about you, Mike, but it was like that for me as well. Like, I was absolutely loved Blades, possibly favorite thing we've done, but it is tiring. And even though we're not doing the same level of prep you are, constantly having to look at a situation and say, how am I going to manipulate this entire metaverse of possibility in a way that suits our goals and my character and is interesting and I can do? And I have to think of all of that. And then sometimes just sitting there going,
overwhelmed by the choice. It's overwhelmed.
I can't think of what I should do. Like it's hard work. So Dragonbane was very much like, let's go on an adventure to that waypoint. There'll be some stuff there. And I'll stab it. And then we'll get the stuff and we'll go home.
Yes.
That was pretty nice for a little break as well. And makes you miss the other stuff.
Yeah, exactly. You got this mix up, and there were enough mini arcs and intrigue still. Like probably overcomplicate things as always, trying to keep track of who's who and what. And actually, it wasn't that complicated in the end, but there still was intrigue and questions of who's where and what the different factions are. It didn't spoon feed it, which was good because it keeps everyone guessing. And like I say, there was still room to have mini arcs that kind of created by ourselves because it was that pick and choose where we wanted to go. So things kind of felt very natural. And we would at the start. It was especially when it was. Before we nailed bushcraft and all that stuff, and it was like, we'll just carry on to that cave. What was the worst that happened? And then you're attacked by bees and attacked by this and attacked by that, and by the time you get to the cave, you're like, we're almost dead because of the travel. And now we've still got to get back.
And you were struggling with nightmares because of your injury, so you were like couldn't sleep, so you're like stuck in a cave for 3 days while Mikey stopped having nightmares. Yeah, that was quite cool.
It's kind of nice to overcome. That would have been a drag. It was nice to feel like, we've progressed. We've accomplished. We've ticked off the box, but it wasn't easy. It wasn't straight away. It took almost half the campaign to get to the point of being like, cool, we've nailed that. And it was certainly nice. It could have got one a bit thin, but at the start it was certainly an extra dynamism to it.
Yeah, that would be like the one thing I wouldn't look forward to if we ran another campaign. It'd be like, okay, now the journeying is dangerous, but we know it's going to get like eventually to the point where it's never going to really threaten you.
Or we just instantly just buy, tell us go.
Yeah, you'll know what to do then.
Off we go. But that's kind of the same I was saying with I look forward to playing Blades again immensely because I think we'd all be so much better at it and, like I say, be more kind of confident in the kind of taking charge and because that would make it less intensive for you as well if we were doing more of the actual creation and keeping it together kind of things. And I know we'd be a lot better at that. Yeah,
because I think something I put in my blog about trad games and story games is that the trad game, it almost gives the players, it does give the players to slip back into this very comfortable set of slippers. And it doesn't. I know that Blades can feel like it's work now, and you have to put like a GM. Everyone has to put a GM hat on. That's kind of how I would describe it. But then going into Dragonbane, and that GM hat just slowly goes away, and then the comfortable slippers come on, and I'm like, so what do you do? This thing is happening. What do you do? Case in point, Alex is a mage, spent 20 sessions wanting to learn new spells. Well, what are you going to do about it? Nothing, okay?
That's your choice.
Yeah, when someone in the Discord, Dragonbane Discord was like, well, he can ask around and look for someone who can teach him elementalism. I was like, yes, he could actually. There's nothing stopping you from doing that.
That is actually quite a good idea.
It's a tough one though because it reminded me a lot of the Fire Slayer in Soulbound. That was like all these wonderful complexities of finding the runes you can forge, and it was great, but it was too much. It was like you just want to go on the adventure. But like actually, can we stop for 3 rests so I can find a forger? So he's got a person over there. I've got to forge the things. Like run out after 5 tries, and it's just like,
But that's got that. The thing with that is that had nothing. That had no basis in the mechanics at all. Like the Urgold thing was like, it was literally just nothing ever said anything was Urgold ever. Crazy. Whereas in Dragonbane, it's like, if you want to learn new magic, you will have to find a trainer or a spell book. There are trainers. Like as a mage, you probably would know that there are people like rare people, but in Misty Vale, there probably is someone who's chucking fireballs around, who people might have heard of.
It's tough though when like 2 out of the 3 they're the stat that they've had everything they needed since session 1. They have the spear and an armor, and off they go. And it's tough when you're the one who's got to like literally develop, and you don't know. Admittedly, of course, there's more that could have been done to push around the edges, but to be the one who has to kind of like actively find stuff in this world that you don't really know yet, it is tricky. I wouldn't understand. Like, it feels a bit daunting to suddenly be like, okay, I've got to find someone, or can I? And yeah.
I mean, if I was making a mage, I would want to know that, I guess, and talk to the GM about it.
That's a fair point. Yeah, like, what can I do? How can I?
Because they're very deliberately, the mage is the only magic user, so it's very unique.
And can get very powerful, obviously. Not quite as powerful as the main, but
I mean, the parallel or a parallel could be, I'm sick of getting killed by monsters. Is there something in this book that can help me with that? Oh, there's heroic ability. I might work towards that. Like, I would like to be able to cast more spells.
Yeah. How do I do that?
I might find out how.
Yeah.
So, you know, it's I mean, at least the thing with Dragonbane is like your Urgold situation, like, because everything in the book is there, everything in the book makes sense. Whereas Soulbound is awesome. It's trying to be a little bit in between the two, with a fairly simple system, but it leaves stuff up to your assumption and imagination, and say, oh, we've given the players enough information, they can figure it out. And in most cases, the answer is yes. In that one specific case, the brain's trust could not find out for the life of us how it was supposed to work. And there's none of that in Dragonbane.
Yeah, well, that goes back to your point about there being about all the classes kind of being just a starting point, right? Compared to Soulbound, where the archetypes are so strong in their identity, and like this is how you play these archetypes.
Yeah, which is like in both ways a strength and a weakness, though, right?
Yeah.
Like there is very little character to how you mechanically play in Dragonbane.
There are a lot of classes and a lot of items that are. I mean, like for example, I'm just looking at the thing now. Obviously, you look at like the artisan, and he has all the stuff about leather making and blacksmithing. And didn't you get a blacksmithing bit at some point you never ever used? I wonder how that stuff kind of comes into.
I was going to do an artificer, I believe.
I was going to be a blacksmith.
What would that?
And then Olly was like, honestly, mate, don't bother. We're putting our comfy slippers on, and we're going to go and stab goblins.
Yeah. I wonder how it would have even.
Yeah.
How would it even done anything?
I had this nice idea that I was going to be a blacksmith, and I'd make us cool stuff, and I could make my whole thing about being like, I'm on this adventure. Like, I want to be adventure, but like crafting is my passion, like graphic design. But on reflecting,
you could have crafted a nice logo for
but it really would have been crap, wouldn't it? You know, we needed the services of a blacksmith once.
Well, exactly, and it's weird. That's a whole class. I wonder how that works. Like,
but isn't the whole their ability is like you can buff stuff?
I will have to check the rule book to be sure. That does sound familiar, and I think that might be why I was attracted to it. Also, the idea of being able to make weapons and stuff, that is cool, because the weapons are super expensive as well. They're quite hard to acquire.
We could just find them all.
I mean, it was in the back quarter of the session before I actually bought a new weapon, because they're so expensive.
Yeah,
but I had my spear from the start. Like, I couldn't get that was something I didn't enjoy. I would have been. I am surprised there's no way to at least kind of ever so slightly buff your weapons. Like, you know, you've sharpened your spear.
That is what the artificer does.
Okay, well, let me double check. I'm looking at them.
Yeah, I mean, imagine how much fun it would be to watch Hoisin beg Sir Marcel to sharpen his spear to do extra damage.
Master blacksmith. Yeah, so it's you can sharpen everyone's swords. Sorry, specifically can sharpen a bladed or pointed weapon. So
no flails.
Sorry, can't sharpen your mace chaps.
Yeah,
and it basically gets 1 AP.
That's kind of cool. But again, it's cool, but it's a bit. I don't know. It's interesting. It's interesting for a game that is so, like I said, it's so strip streamlined. You need to like all players like a weird class. You need to be like a mariner, a scholar, and a blacksmith out on adventures. You all have some kind of odd, quirky.
It'd be a very different adventure, yeah.
Yeah, you couldn't just have a single fighter. The fighter would just be stabbing him. And what are you guys doing? Well, they're just like tinkering, and it obviously didn't have coming off blades where the tinkering was very, because it was all story based, was very organic, and I could booby trap a watermelon cart, and it still was within within the realms of what's going on, because it was narratively free to create the stuff you had, whereas it seems still quite restricted, but a bit overly free. So I wonder why.
The Iruvian exploding melon cart stratagem.
The classic.
Yeah.
Classic.
That was a classic moment.
Yeah. Well, that new Dragonbane book they're putting onto Kickstarter looks like it takes place in a big city surrounded by an ocean, which would be probably a very different. And I imagine that why they're doing that is because it's so different to the starting adventure. A landlocked, sparse wilderness, it's almost the complete opposite. So it'd be very interesting to see what that entails. And I imagine a bit more technologically advanced as well. Laurie even may be able to get his fucking magical blunderbuss or whatever he wants this time.
Why is it always an alternative wizard? I want to be a wizard, but with a gun. I want to be a wizard who punches stuff.
Because he's not had the, what did you call it? The Yormund.
I want to be a wizard. He's not had the
Yormund revelation.
The Yormund revelation, yeah.
He's not as wizened as you guys yet.
But like the Mariner.
The simpler the better now.
In a way, yeah. The Mariner has sea legs, which is the built in. It's just again, if someone just play the whole adventure, the water, the whole ability is being water, and if there's no water, you're just fucked. So it's really interesting that these characters exist, and there's no.
Yeah.
Yes, I would describe all of the Mallard players as quote unquote fucked when they basically just gave themselves an ability to succeed on almost any role because they get angry. I think you might be forgetting their real feature is that, and the watery stuff is like all right.
Well, I was looking at the Mariner class, their hero ability. To start with.
Oh yeah, I mean they're absolutely hopeless on this area. That would be rubbish.
I mean, D&D has has like a sailor subclass, don't they, or something? Which...
Yeah, but you need to be like if that's your ability, you need to be able to also like have a spell that creates like floods a room, and then you have an advantage. You need some kind of like a wombo combo that you can do there. But that's why we played. I mean, I've ever since I played 7,000 hours of World of Warcraft as a warrior, I swore never to be a standard fighter again. This is probably the first time since like 2005 that I've played a character that's actually a quote fighter, and it still felt very fun and didn't feel like a
fighter. I think is one of the things I haven't ever played, and that was pre the Yormund revelation, and now a fighter's like. Ooh.
What was your
Oh wait, no, I did, didn't I? Briefly, the Battle Master is that a fighter subclass?
I was going to say the Pathfinder, yeah.
Yeah.
The Pathfinder, like 3 episodes we did.
I'm always very attracted to those kind of like fighter classes that also have like a technical or leadershipy type element to them. I just think that's quite an interesting path.
Yes, because and then you basically ended up doing that for in Soulbound 2.
Soulbound 2, yeah.
Where you had the command ability. Yeah.
Which turned out to be incredibly overpowered by the end. But very cool. Like I like those kind of support abilities are pretty cool.
Yeah, and if you compare that with having shit tons of armor.
Yeah, honestly. And maybe also at the same time a Gatling gun. Like honestly, I mean I think we tired a little bit of Soulbound towards the end there. But Vargi's loadout was absolutely unmatched for my preferences.
Blasters.
Yeah, it was fantastic. Yeah, when we, when you take us to our next campaign, whatever that may be, I'm going to be like, the plate armored diplomat. Just don't like get stabbed.
Yeah, well, yeah. I mean, the funny thing about the present day is that it's like fantasy and the future are ways where people can have lots of armor, but we're in this middle point now where. There's not much point. We're between power armor and plate mail, so
that is such a strangely accurate observation that I just hadn't thought about. What do you know?
What do you know? What do
Then go
you
play
know?
Doom: The Dark Ages, and people are rocking techno plate armor.
Ooh, yeah.
It's a lot going on.
Yeah. Nice. So yeah, I mean, yeah, I feel like we might come back to Dragonbane again. I don't know if I would enjoy. I think I would definitely enjoy the Bladesy games as a player. I feel like the player expression you can get as a GM is a lot better than having that one turn. I stab, oh, I miss. Next. But I think what would be cool is playing eventually Daggerheart, which is the Critical Role sort of fantasy game that they've just released. Because in that game you have 2d20s. One's a hope die, one's a bad die. And whichever rolls higher gives you either like a good thing or a bad thing twist on the roll.
Oh, that's fun.
So you can have, it's like, less effect or greater effect or on stuff like this. And then I think every time you roll a bad thing, you give a token to the GM, and then the GM can use that as an enemy attack. So if you roll really well, the enemies are not going to be able to attack you.
That's cool.
Yeah.
Very like heroic kind of
Exactly.
setup.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And of course there's the cards as well. Oh yeah, the cards.
Oh yeah.
I've just realised the bard is awesome in Dragonbane. The musician is an incredible.
Why was it do?
It just, if you can activate a turn, for that turn, everyone gets a boon, all enemies get a bane.
Bloody hell!
Oh, choose one or the other. So you can choose one or the other. So you can give all the enemies
bless or bane. Yeah.
Yeah, and the instruments do actually.
How much willpower is that?
Only three per one. And instruments affect the range or reduce the cost in willpower, so you can get better instruments. That's really cool. I wish I'd been a bard. All right, lock it in. I'm being
you're Gemini, mate.
Oh yeah, of course, damn it. But that's fun. Like the fact you can upgrade. I've only played bard a very little bit, but the fact I'm sure they do, I guess, the other ones. But if I remember, you just picked an instrument, that was it. It seems like if you pick like certain ones, they'll either make it like a bigger area effect or make it more potent. So maybe you can kind of shift which weapons which instruments you're using to play with rather than weapon stuff. That's cool. I should prevent that.
Yeah. Did you see Milo? I'm going to play Sir Marcel's great nephew.
I did see something like that popping up.
Pierre de Bois. It's a cocky little. Don't know whatever class he'd be. Sailor. I don't know.
Pierre de Bois, but to my friends, B2B.
Yeah. Joining in the Young Avengers.
I think you'd have a lot of fun spending, I don't know, an entire campaign doing a comically over the top Frenchish accent. Yeah, I did.
Where does that rank amongst your accents? You've done Welsh. You've done.
I think it's the one I had the most fun doing. What else did we do? We had the Irish Little Breen. We had. I just tell you what, I found the one that's most pleasing of all. Actually, I think was just playing a good, honest Yorkshireman who happens to be a bit of a wizard as well.
Yeah,
that was fun.
I like to play confidence.
A wizard in plate armor, I might add.
Your French accent comically got into that kind of garbled points at certain points, but it was always fun when it did. Like it was like, sorry, what did you say? Which is what
totally.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Intentionally, it was very funny.
I think it got more extravagant as the campaign went on as well.
You just blow your mic out and then. Yeah.
It was good fun.
Yeah, my aim originally had been to put. It was a bold choice. It was to try and make the voice more of a Matt Berry kind of booming voice, but it was too hard to even try and do for more than 2 seconds. Get exhausted just trying to do it. So that's why I became more just a loud posh man instead. Hoisin ended up being.
That one comes more naturally, yeah.
Well, exactly, yeah, for sure.
Yes. Where do you live again, darling?
Back from darling, Kent, darling.
Love. Yeah.
Yeah, no, lots of fun, and then
But
it's just a nice change of pace.
But I will say, not much character development going on, I should say, compared to Blades.
True. I did
that
think
definitely
about that,
fell by the wayside a bit.
In Dragonbane, it certainly did.
in favour of,
Yeah.
as Matt Colville says, doing the voice.
What did I?
Yeah,
What did I have down
I think
as
your
his-
point though earlier is like you put the comfy shoes on,
Yeah.
and then you sort of stop thinking about it.
Yeah,
and
exactly.
I just feel like I just didn't think about it the whole time. Really.
Yeah. Yeah.
I think we still
Yeah,
told
yeah.
a nice story, but
Yes.
character development just was
The
basically
character
not
that
Do you-
kind of
existent.
set at the
Not
start,
that it
so-
couldn't exist, but
Yeah.
it did.
Do you feel like just like sort of integrating with the mechanics and the world, it just becomes more like it has that level of separation, like you're playing like a video game almost?
A little bit. I think
Like
you
it's-
kind of sort of
It just becomes more of a
fit for this-
game than like a part that you're playing almost.
Somewhat, yeah.
Or a story you're
Generally,
telling.
because you're maybe it's just me, maybe because your kind of actual character abilities and skills, it doesn't really evolve either. Like the cardinal evolved because the flame became more and more, so the flame was fiery and angry and holy, and it just kind of like amplified that kind of characteristic more, so it kind of made it more. But I think, yeah, and also, I think at the end of the day, I think what my character was, he was a heroic fighter who wants to be a hero, and it's like, well, that's not actually really
Yeah.
much room there to become.
I think-
You started heroic and became a hero. So yeah,
I think
that's
that's
from the start.
sort of a good point in itself. Like, I do agree. I think it does make it a bit more gamey.
Mm.
And so you are kind of like going through the motions would be the wrong word, but like, or wrong phrasing, but like you just sort of you just do stuff.
Yeah.
But it was
Okay,
also,
fair
you know, it's just like a simple fantasy world. So I think we are all pretty encouraged to make pretty simple fantasy characters.
Yeah.
And not dealing with complex society and like socioeconomic issues and like, you know, the themes that bring out an interesting character arc. And it's such a stark contrast from Blades, where it's like you're this person who's ended up in a tricky, desperate life, and you probably came from something weird, and the world hates you, and therefore you have a lot going on. It sets you up to be like, maybe this character wants to be something else, or just become something else.
That's the downside of the stripped back nature of it. Like you say, yeah, it just didn't feel like the space was there. The intriguing things happened that were interesting, but they were like I said, a bit video gamey, a bit like yes, a giant is here or there's a demon here. It's not like you're being challenged to think different. I mean, maybe a little bit when we got to the Bam Bam. What's the giant called? Knack Knack.
Glam Glam.
Bam Glam. We were a little bit old. We betray the thieves, or kind of. But then then I was like trying to sneak up on them, and it was like, well, what's the point? Just actually walk up to them and just talk to them, like.
Yeah.
So that's kind of that's kind of interesting, isn't it?
I think, you know, if you wanted to blame the system for it all and not just us putting our comfy shoes on, I think you could point as well to like the adventure was fun, but nothing that we did in it really, apart from getting to the end and saving the day, was a big deal or was impactful in a way that might change the character. Really. You know, it's you know, we go here, kill a monster, meet some friends, come home. You know, in other games we've played, it might be like you go here, you unwittingly set off a serious chain of events that leaves you questioning if you did the right thing. And that, you know, you come home going, ooh, I'm a socialist now, you know, or like whatever, like, you know, my character from a life of violent crime has actually realized that this violence is going too far and he wants to do something about that. Like, so the adventure doesn't set you up to have any introspection.
The characters weren't challenged. I think of like in Blades, like when we had to go and take out the port authority office, but we had to try and frame the Berserks while helping and that's just a really complicated scenario that you can't help but then try and figure out how your character and your group would do that while making sense for your goals. But the characters, like that's the scenario that kind of did that. There's nothing here that was like, why am I going to do this dungeon differently? I'm sure I remember the sell of this being you are heroes to be heroes, and that kept it simple, but actually kind of I think hobbled the ability to start off thinking complex. I mean, they had the weaknesses we kind of gave up on as well, didn't we? I mean, it started off with the whole like he's foolhardy, so that's a problem. But even that got a bit like difficult. What was your weakness? It was just that you.
It came up like twice, and then I was like, in the end, we settled on like he's gullible and like trusting, and there were like a couple of instances where I sort of made it, you know, tried to play it out a bit, but not without contriving the situation, it was difficult to kind of make it relevant, which I think is not unique to Dragonbane, and it is a bit tricky every time we've tried to do it. And I think just more practice and thought is the key. But selecting something that can be broadly applied is the one. And every time I think every time you've selected something you think is like, yes, this will work. This will come up all the time, and I will make interesting character choices because I am this. And then you find yourself being like, nope. Can't do it, but that's not a Dragonbane thing. That's just a roleplay thing.
And perhaps off the back of Blades as well, it almost felt a bit kind of like it felt so far away from you kind of seeing the holy grail of it, and it's like, do I just half at it, or do I just actually go for just the actual, like you say, and then I focus on the fun, which was kind of what we were doing, I think.
That's it, right? You go whole in on what the game probably expects us to do.
Yeah,
like it feels awkward to kind of force it in because as well, because playing the weaknesses. Being on a heist in Blades is a lot different to being in like a fight in Dragonbane. Like in the heist, there's not everything is life and death, and you can have these moments where there's a bit of ambiguity, and you'll be like, "Oh, I can look for trouble here. I can lean on my weakness to make it a bit more interesting." Like Alex shooting the guy who was falling in the water or something, or and all this kind of interesting moments where it kind of makes everything a bit worse, but.
Yeah.
In a way, it's cool.
Opportunity for not that we want to contrive controversy all the time. Like that could be more often it's problematic, but a little bit can really add some spice and flavor to what's going on. And while that specific moment was quite controversial, but if you think across the whole Dragonbane campaign, the most controversial thing that happened is we had to talk down the duck from stealing the horse off the knight because it's quite bastardly.
Yeah,
very heroic.
That was the only.
And really, I think that was a player issue, not a system issue.
Yeah, I said it. But
the situations was sort of not
the scenario.
Not likely to be fraught with controversy unless we were just like, oh, actually, we just kill the barmaid, I guess. That's spicing up a bit. Yeah. Probably not.
That if she's a threat, then we know it. Yeah, but I put in my review. One of my favorite bits was the Tylos bit, and he's just a random encounter you can roll on, and it's like, oh, this knight turns up, and he's like, you have to come help me in Fort Malice, and he goes off again, and that's all the random encounter is. And I was like, there's more here. I feel like you've given me a bit of intrigue here.
That's taking your general GM experience, but definitely the bladesiness of being like anything can be a big thing that can now drive your story.
Oh yeah, especially because at the time you guys were grappling with how do we be heroes and stuff, and it'd be really interesting if you came across a knight who looks the part, who looks very heroic, but he's lynching people because he thinks they're baddies.
Yeah, the Nazi Knight side quest was quite pivotal. That's probably one of the only bits. Well, I don't think we have massive character development. We had a sort of party development. Where we sort of went. We had almost. Are we about to be the baddies?
Well, that was because that was one of the only kind of actual grey bits in it. Was like, well, he's killing people, but they are Sathmog people, we think, but he's doing it really badly. So. It doesn't take a lot, but I think that was lacking. The rest of it was those kind of grey areas to live in. Otherwise, it was just the demons are bad and the people are good and yada yada yada. So that was fun. That did flex a little bit because that, especially with my character trying to be like, well, he's got to do heroic things. He's got to be that, but also is it heroic to kill someone unheroically? But we need to kill him because if we don't kill him, he's going to kill other people, and I'm trying to save other people. So that. You make light of it, but that was probably the most kind of interesting elements to deal with, and we could have certainly done a few more of those. So you're saying there's no reason he should have been like that. It should have been a one and done, and we just kind of inevitably just kind of evolved it ourselves through both our natural penchant for hating our NPCs and also you just making a decision to expand him out. Was that kind of the role of it?
He was supposed to be just be a thing that takes you to Fort Malice, but I think because also in the game, there's not really any NPCs you interact with apart from Leonara and maybe some people in town. And I know you were sort of talking about there was the knights and then the Immaculate Flame and the dragons and everything. And so I just thought it'd be a really interesting character to throw amongst the pigeons. And then, of course, as well, with the elves as well in the same session. You know, the fatal error of drawing their weapons against PCs made them instantly baddies. But it's that I like that juxtaposition of the big bad knight who's perfectly pleasant and polite to you guys, his friends, and then the kind of fighting for their lives elves who come up a bit aggressive, but it's because they're coming from a point of weakness and desperation. I always find that quite intriguing.
Yeah, that was the most interesting grey area to sit in, and it could have been interesting to have more of that. But it's telling that was also kind of engineered by you as well. That wasn't actually in the game at all. So they really are lacking on those spaces to evolve characters in. But then maybe that's also not the point, and maybe that's right. I think if all you did was play Dragonbane, you'd probably get a bit fed up. But I think that's the 1-2 punch from Blaze to this is the perfect little.
And Ophelia was supposed to die in that alleyway as well.
Oh.
When she got attacked.
Yeah, that would have changed everything.
Well,
no one would have been able to give us that pivotal information.
True.
If someone's paying you for the stuff, you might want to wonder why.
Yeah, that was.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm an idiot. Not my character.
Yeah,
I am an idiot.
But again, there was the comfy shoes. There's a quest giver who's giving us the reward for getting the quest.
But you definitely
for the stuff.
You definitely every time you gave her a piece, you were like, something's not right, but we'll just kick it down the road. It's fine.
Yeah, that future us deal with that. I'm
the
sure
slippers on. I don't want to take them off right now. And if we start doing that, then Michael start getting all suspicious of everything with a beating heart.
I did. I was right. Mike was
yes,
right.
Well, something broken clock. Like
yes,
yeah, that's true. Something broken clock. You weren't right about all the other people in Soulbound.
What? Yes, I was. They all need to die.
Yeah, all the NPCs you've killed have actually all been not baddies.
Well, I was playing a vicious assassin. That was just character. That was character.
Yeah. Yeah. What was cool about that was it was canon.
His character would have done, Ollie.
Yeah. It was. You were lucky that it was canon that your character's faction took over the whole city in like 6 months' time.
Yes. Yeah. There you go. I knew it. I just had a feeling.
Yeah. Marathi. Cool. Well, should we talk about what games we should play next?
Yes.
Yes. Let's go on villainy.
Let me bring up the Discord. That's all the.
Thanks.
The big list. Well,
it's got a channel.
It does have a channel. Preemptive channel.
Marvel multiverse role-playing game.
I do want to do some shorter campaigns because what was my reasoning? I think it would be interesting for one, and I think there's a lot of games that are built to play shorter rather than longer, so we're not gonna get bored or burnt out from one system. But it also means people like Daryl and Josh from Brinkwood can jump in and play for, 4, 5, 6 sessions or whatever it is, 8 sessions. And we can have different groups. And Laurie as well. Laurie actually, is into that kind of cyclical thing. Unfortunately, I'm on this now with the 2 players who probably like that idea the least and who are the most committed to the mega campaigns and want the mega campaigns.
Yeah, but we've had mega campaigns, and it would be nice to have.
Yeah, I like the mega campaign.
Extra faces in, more variety, and not feel so bad if it doesn't all kind of miss us because it's all short anyway and it's all whatever. I think I'm all good for it. I think it's just more. It's hard to say. I think it's better. It's better because now I'm like I don't know what to do and what thing, but there's less FOMO. I feel like so it's a short one if it does not quite working out.
Yep.
Better that than sticking in because I have no real.
One of the game. I'm very keen on playing.
What's that?
Ollie, do you know which one it is?
Is it 40k related?
Okay, I have 2 other games.
Imperium Maledictum is one.
Yeah, call that the Warhammer segment because I would play Wrath and Glory at any time. But
oh yeah,
the other one is Heart.
Oh yes, of course. Yeah.
That sounds insane
Yes.
and cool and
Exactly.
weird, and I really want to play it.
Yeah.
I might get the same feeling if I watched another enthusiastic review of some of the other ones rather than just skimming some of the pages. But watching that review, I was like, I must play this game.
Yes, that's the Quinn's effect. But he also does do shorter campaigns for all of those games, and Heart especially, because I think it's expected that you do die at the end.
Yes,
in the
I
campaign.
seem to recall there is at least one ability a character can have that's like, I explode and die.
Yeah.
Like probably like Gale power move.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, so all these we could definitely like, and it is a little bit of a, would I like to tick things off the big list? Yes, I would. But also like there's a lot of these ones are in alchemy as well, and they've got cool enhanced editions, and some of them have been already made, like somebody's already made a Heart one. Somebody's already made.
Well, I guess it's settled then.
Someone's what's the other one? Spire as well. They've made.
Yes, the pair of them. I can't remember why you pick each one, but they both sound very interesting.
Like Spire's like Dark Elf revolutionaries, and then Heart is down into the dungeon.
Yes, Heart's where it gets really weird.
Yes.
I think
also all the Borgs.
Yeah, I go back and forth on the Borgs.
Got to try one, haven't we, at some point? Just got to have a go.
Yeah.
I'm looking back at your list.
Let's go to Malta again.
Earlier in May, you mentioned 3 different ones: Coriolis, Outgunned, and Eat the Right. I feel like for me the setting is going to be the most important thing. I'd really love almost like the modern age, and that would be more important for me what we do next. And maybe in that same tone, flitting from story to combat to story. Those also, I think you've picked them all as being a story. I think any of those for me seem like the kind of space to move into for a short one.
Yeah, so all of those ones in the short list are probably we could just do all of them because they are 4, 5, 6 sessions.
Yeah.
Introductory adventures. And very kind of wham bam. Although I think Coriolis it's sci-fi, but it's just an interesting system that I'd like to try out. But yeah, I think, is there anything else on your list apart from Marvel? In that Marvel game you have to play as a established hero though.
Doesn't say you can play as your own.
Oh really?
Yeah, or create your own. Says it in the first line.
Would you prefer that, or would you want to play?
Oh yeah, that's the class. There's some terrible video games that do it, but it's always fun to play as
Oh, like in Midnight Suns.
You meet Wolverine.
Yeah.
Or like the DC MMO was like that as well. A random character meets Superman. I think that's quite fun.
To me, my X-Men.
Oh my god.
Who would you play as?
Cyclops immediately. No, I don't know.
But I'd feel silly like basically
pretending to be Wolverine.
Yeah, I'd much rather be his apprentice as a stabby person, but very much my own version of that rather than have to be Wolverine.
It's quite a tough thing to live up to, I think, playing any of those characters.
Yeah, can you imagine?
Yeah, but it's fun to meet them, but then also it's quite a pressure, I guess, on the GM then to you have to do them all.
It's no question that if Olly was playing, he'd obviously be Doctor Strange. Like, there's just not even. It's no debate, really.
It'd be fun to have akin characters like a sorcerer and
dye the beard
person, and we just keep it kind of thing.
Oh, I do hope you get mysteriously grey beard bits. That'll be as you age.
Oh, and then you can be Tony Stark, Milo, and you can sass me.
Yeah, that'd be.
Did you say hitherto unheard of?
That would be. I actually think that'd be really fun.
And then Mikey, you can be Drax.
Yeah.
Then you can have the Yormund revelation.
Yeah.
Oh yes.
I think one thing I'd like. One thing I'd like from one of these short campaigns would be to have like a less combat focused character that would still be really satisfying in that sort of shorter campaign. Because I did want to do it in this one, partially just so you get off my back about being a fighter all the time. But also because it is fun. And this wasn't the one for it. And then, it depends on what the system is as to whether or not that'll be attractive or not. But it'd be nice, I think, if in one of these shorter ones there was like a cool support or social character that felt really worth playing for a shorter game.
Yeah, I don't know because the pre-mades in Eat the Reich are really cool, so we'll probably just do those. I haven't really looked at them though, but I know in Outgunned you can be like the driver, which is also a cool archetype or something.
One of my first, I was much younger first. I think sorry, the first RPGs I played was, oh god, what's the sci-fi D&D? Not Blade Runner.
There is
what
none.
am I saying? No, you know what I'm saying. We mentioned it before. Tech Runner,
Shadowrun.
Oh, Shadowrun.
Shadowrun. Yes.
The
Yeah, I played that
sci-fi
one.
D&D. You couldn't be
I thought
more
that's what it
wrong,
was.
sir.
I thought that's what it was. Anyway,
Cyberpunk.
yeah, I played with some friends. I must have been like 11 or 12 and played it, and like some cool hacker always like twin pistols. And, like, it was cool.
A net
Like,
decker.
yeah,
Yeah.
that stuff was cool.
One day.
One day
Yeah,
Milo is going to run.
No, I think I've long since given up on the dream of running that. It's so much to take in.
What about Cyberpunk? Cyberpunk Red.
I can't say I've read much about it, but I would.
It's the based on it's the sequel to the game that the video game is based off of. Night City.
Yes,
kind of Cyberpunk.
I have read about the original one way back when.
Yeah.
And maybe that's a touch more accessible, with the added benefit of having a little bit of knowledge about that specific cyberpunk world.
Yeah.
Like the video game, or having played a bit of the game, being a bit more immersed in the world, make things a little bit easier. I'd be quite interested to run a short game. I could look into one that might be good for us. Let you be a player for a few weeks.
Cyborg is the Borg that I'd like to run the most, but it's not on Alchemy yet, annoyingly.
Hard though.
Hard though. As soon as they add in the thing where you can share custom universes, then we'll be all over it, sir. But yes, and I will save my Scum and Villainy homebrew campaign for the next big one, and that'll be a session 0. This is what it's going to be like. If you want to have the comfy slippers, they're not here. I'm throwing them out for this.
Burn the slippers.
Throw away the slippers. I'm giving you some tap shoes. So yeah, and that would be, and I had that thought about using the mask system from Brinkwood as well, but I don't know if that's just going to be too complicated. But I do like their revolution system, so I think that'll be a good add.
Yes, I like that.
And I want it to be more revolutionary, sort of themed, more Andor themed.
Yes, I think that's a nice base to work from as well. And the goal of establishing your criminal enterprise is a pretty good directive, and obviously there's a lot more you could do with it than we did on our first go. But being revolutionary feels like quite a nice thing to frame everything in and drive what you do, even if there's still a lot of choices to how to build a revolution.
Yeah.
It's pretty cool. And I'll probably have watched season 2 by then, so good.
Yeah, you watch it and be like, when are we going to play it?
Yeah, I better not rush to watch it now, actually. Otherwise I'll be like, where's my revolution?
Well, there's your next accent. You can be the Luthen character.
Oh, that would yeah.
And you can have the antique stealing alter ego, the fake wig and everything.
Mind if I just completely lift and shift the entire character?
yeah, that's fine. Yeah, you are the forgotten Skarsgård.
That's fine. I'll learn the speech. I'll do it. And I'll deliver it in an underwhelming manner. I'll show you.
It's fine. I'll give you the bed of audio. I'll just he's doing it. Yeah, have your great effect for your monologue.
the whole campaign just building up to that for me personally.
But yeah, so that is kind of the future of Dice Encounters. Really, there's some cool shorter stuff. Maybe we'll weave Band of Blades in there, because that's also a sort of a set length as well. What's that, Mikey?
How will we decide though? I mean, there's too many options. Two different people.
It's my decision. So
well, obviously
makes it easier.
But
I get to
get back in your box, player.
I mean, when I read the thing that actually, you know, as a GM, you can literally just say, "This is what I want to run. Take it or leave it." It's like, oh, really? I don't have to cater to my players' like whims. Crazy.
Whims.
Life-changing advice.
I know. It's like they can't. They're not going to leave if I don't play what they want me to play.
No, the good ones won't.
The good ones won't.
Good
eggs. The good ones.
The good ones who turn up to the session zeros and the session X's.
Session last
ends. Yeah. Well, I think we might have rambled on long enough.
I think so.
But
have fun editing that one.
Have fun doing the chapters. Am I right? Like, oh no, we've switched back to like my whole idea of having like 3 separate topics. Well, I knew it was going to happen, but
you went out the window pretty quickly, didn't it?
Yeah, it's so hard to like be structured with it because it's naturally all entwined. But yes, and but we didn't actually talk about alchemy at all. But I am planning to keep using it. I don't feel like I could go back to Roll20.
Yeah.
I just need a device that can use it.
I think I'd be physically sick if I opened Roll20 ever again.
I know, right?
So there's your review for alchemy.
I just need a device to use it that can play it. I just have to wait for like 5 minutes for the reveal.
When's your birthday?
Yeah, sort out.
In a month or so.
I don't think the 3 shortlisted games have like dungeon maps. It's just
that was really a big killer. The delayed rolling, that was more entertaining to be honest than anything else.
Yeah, that was a feature.
Yeah, but the map reveal, that literally was almost a kill because I had no idea which room we were going into. So
yeah,
that was less.
Yes,
less fun.
For you, it was an audio drama.
It was.
But I think when we played Brinkwood, it was really satisfying because I'd set up all the scenes in chronological order. So as we moved from location to location, really satisfying to do that.
Nice.
And having them all move and have the snow effects as you go into the outside the city, and you go into the city and it's like the burning like tavern hearth and stuff.
Yeah, I like that.
Really nice. So hopefully all of those 3 games will have that.
Nice. Well, what's the plan? What do you do next week then? Are you gonna make a decision by then, or are you gonna?
Well, I think we did have a sort of a mini vote in the future games chat, but it was just you and Laurie.
No.
But I think now everything is done with Dragonbane. I will put something in the main chat, some sort of poll.
Right.
If you need me to just write heart in the channel, just let me know. I think probably when we select our system, if we try and get it selected in like the next week or something, we like a week of recuperation and perusing the rules of the new system.
Yeah,
at least would probably be good.
Yes.
So yeah, I don't think we want
for
to
those
rush
players
straight into new campaign next week, but
for those players inclined who look at rules. Cough.
Yeah. I mean, being who I am, I still won't actually conclude any of the character making and writing and doing the documents and stuff until the day before. But that's how I do everything. But I will enjoy soaking up some of the information over time and quietly percolating, even if I'm feverishly writing down what my eye color is on the morning of the session.
Yes, and you can make characters outside of the game on alchemy, but I don't know if you need to like be invited into it to unlock it.
Because I think I tried to do this for this one, and we couldn't figure it out. But yeah, maybe for the next one we can
So for me,
get it figured out.
if I go to library, and then the 2 tabs at the top are games and characters.
Library. I do have a characters tab. I can create a character. I think you would have to be invited to the game first because I can't select a game system.
Yeah, that's fine. We can do that. As I say, Eat the Reich pre-mades are really cool, so we'll probably just use those. They've got all the cool art and stuff. And I think it's designed around them, so you can be a bat.
Ooh.
Which has a Nike right. No, like literally like, well, they're all vampires, but that one's like literally a giant bat. A man who is a bat. So you can hang upside down and stuff.
Ooh.
You've sold him completely.
He wasn't like hanging upside down, eh?
Yeah. You know how mallards can not swim like a duck?
Yes.
You could probably not do as much as a bat, but yeah.
Yeah, exactly. We're like, yeah, but there's just no roofs anywhere to hang from. No rafters, no caves, sorry. In this world.
You need the yellow paint hooks on the ceiling.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. There's one above this guard. Look at that in the tutorial.
Yeah. I'll be a Batman.
A Batman?
Batman. Sounds fun.
Nice.
Well, I look forward to seeing the choice and see what happens next.
Well, there is 6 pre-made, so we could even, if we had everybody in the Dicey Encounters multiverse, we could actually fit everybody in, which would be crazy.
That'd be crazy.
What you're describing there is crazy.
I have run a one-shot with 8 players before. And that was in person, at least. That was a lot.
That sounds like a bit much.
But it was nice. It was nice because you could see the difference between like the noobs and my players, and you could see my players were like helping the noobs, and that was nice.
That's nice.
They were like carrying the narrative.
You think you talk sometimes about liking GMing because it's boring being a player doing one thing every half hour, but with 8 players you're doing one thing every like hour and a half.
Yeah.
I can imagine. In our slower moments, it can still feel a little while. We only have a small group.
Unless you're playing a blade system with no initiative, and then you can just be like, "Well, I'm doing everything.
I'm doing stuff." And if you guys don't have brains, you can lump it.
Yeah. And I would like to try out a mystery game, even though I think it'd be a car crash. Even if it's like a Call of Cthulhu thing, I just think it'd be quite cool to be like, "Oh, do you open the door? The door starts to bleed. Do you look at the door? Take insanity damage." You'd love it. You'd love it. Yeah.
You bloody love it, you would.
Mikey would love it.
And Mikey would be like, wait, so hang on, wait. So the door?
The rest of us would be driven to genuine insanity damage as Mikey seeks to have like a thorough conceptual understanding of everything that is happening at every moment in the game. While the rest of us scratch our eyes out.
I assume it comes with very detailed maps and very detailed...
in this one I'm listening to right now, Impossible Landscapes, there's something called the night floors, which are like floors of a building that only appear at night, and there's just like Severance-style endless corridors, and the only map they have is something that's been scribbled on a napkin. So you'll probably really enjoy that if you were to be on the night floors.
Definitely.
Yeah.
I promise to pay attention.
Just corridors with loads and loads of doors. Really easy stuff to get your head around.
Yes, I'm sure none of the doors are particularly peculiar.
Never take us to a dream realm again.
Nice. I mean, the good thing is if you play those kind of games, note takers are king.
Ah, there you go.
Yeah.
You nerds.
Welcome to the night moon.
All right.
Yeah, that should do it, shouldn't it?
Exciting times. That was a good discussion. It did successfully record. Hallelujah.
Good. Hallelujah.
So we'll put
Huge
up a.
improvement. You're developing as a GM.
I know.
Yep.
I know.
Skills, in it.
My man's good. Actually, you say that, but if I look back at our first Dragonbane sessions compared to the later ones, I had a self goal, my own goal was to get better at the intros. So I started writing scripts, and then I realized I didn't need the scripts, and now I've actually made a marked difference in having entertaining intros. Just a little self win. Just a little.
Hey, you got to have your
GM
character
win.
development too.
Toot that trumpet. That's really cool. I noticed that you had some kind of like what felt like scripted intros. I didn't notice that you'd stopped scripting them. So there you go.
Yeah. Nice. So I'll put the poll up in the next couple of days. We'll take next week off.
Really?
You guys can go on holiday. I'll give you permission. Join Alex on holiday. Join Alex, the Cadbury Flake, on holiday, and we'll see us.
An extra 3 hours of TFT next week. Boop, boop.
We will see us in whatever universe we end up landing in next.
All right, nice one. Well, thanks, Olly. Thanks for running the session
and
the campaign.
All right.
We appreciate you very much.
Look forward to the next one.
I appreciate you, my star players.
Oh, thanks.
We should start wearing a gold star.
You're my.
I never mention it.
That could be a bit controversial. Like a little one, like a one you get at school.
Like a comical little stick.
Sheriff badge.
Oh, Western.
Yes.
Deputized.
God, we're so easily distracted, aren't we? It's absolutely phenomenal.
Must be like a Deadwood style RPG out there.
Yeah, for sure.
Don't start him. Don't start him. Don't start him off.
Dogs in the Vineyard, one of the most sort of impactful, sort of designed role-playing games. But anyway, yeah.
It's for another episode. Nice one. I'll catch
Laters.
you.
Nice. Chat to you laters.
Chat in the chat.
Laters, dudes.
Bye.